A montage of bleak, grimy London street corners unfolds. A tattered Merry Christmas banner flaps forlornly in the biting wind. In his counting house, Scrooge's face remains an impassive mask as his clerk, Bob Cratchit, nervously wishes him a Merry Christmas before leaving. Scrooge offers no reply, just a dismissive wave of his hand. Scrooge walks home through the thickening fog, his dark figure appearing imposing and spectral. He sits alone in his vast, cold home, pouring a glass of brandy and swirling it while staring into the fireplace. "Christmas? A humbug," he mutters. "A pathetic excuse for every fool with a shilling less than myself to feel my pocket." They prattle on about goodwill and charity, their voices grating hymns of hope in a city drowning in its own filth. They are blind. They don't see the vermin scurrying in the alleys, the disease festering in their very homes. His hand clenches the glass, knuckles turning white. They celebrate a single birth, yet ignore the death that surrounds them, that cleanses them. I, however, see it clearly. I'm not a celebrant, I'm a surgeon. My work is not in the light, cheered by simpletons. It is in the shadows, precise and necessary. A sharp incision to excise the rot. My hymns are written in silence and steel. My work is what endures. It is divine. He takes a slow, deliberate sip of brandy. The fire sputters low. Suddenly, a heavy, unnatural gust of wind blows through the locked room, extinguishing every candle flame at once. The room is plunged into absolute blackness. After a long moment of silence, the faint metallic sound of a single, heavy chain dragging across the floorboards is heard from the direction of the door. In the pitch-black room, the sound of a dragging chain grows louder, closer. A faint, sickly green light begins to emanate from the doorway, outlining a figure. Scrooge relights a candle with a trembling hand, his usual cold demeanor shattered by disbelief. The ghost of Jacob Marley drifts into the room. He is horrifying to behold, his jaw unhinged and his body wrapped in the chains he forged in life. The metallic tools clatter with an unnatural echo. Scrooge's voice is strained. "Marley, it cannot be. You are dead. Dead 7 years this very night." Marley's ghost replies in a raspy, layered whisper, "I have never been more present. I'm here tonight to warn you, Ebeneezer, to offer you a chance to escape my fate." The ghost rattles his chains, the sound of metal scraping against bone. "I wear the chain I forged in life. I made it link by link, by turning a blind eye to the cruelty in our ledgers, and to the blood on your hands." Scrooge's face is a mask of shock. "You call your butchery work, a cleansing, but it is murder, Ebeneezer, and your chain is 1,000 times heavier than this. I am doomed to witness every act of cruelty I ignored, to feel the terror of every life you extinguish. My purpose is your final hope. You will be haunted by 3 spirits. They are your only chance at redemption. Expect the first when the bell tolls 1, the second on the stroke of 2, the third as the last chime of 3 fades into silence. Heed them, or you will carry a darkness far greater than my own." The ghost drifts backward, its form dissolving into the fog and shadows. The chains fall silent. Scrooge is left alone, the single candle flame casting long, dancing shadows around him. He is visibly shaken. The clock on the mantel begins to chime. The clock on the mantel tolls 1, its deep chime echoing through the silent, oppressive room. Across the way, a soft, flickering light appears, coalescing into the spectral form of a young woman who glows with a pale, cold light. It is the ghost of Christmas past. Scrooge's face contorts in a mask of horror and recognition. "No, not you," he rasps. The ghost's voice is a soft, whispering echo. "You remember me? Good. Now you will remember why." The ghost drifts towards Scrooge, extending a pale, ethereal hand. "Your past awaits," she whispers, "the beginning of your end." She touches his forehead, and the room dissolves into a chaotic swirl of light and shadow. They reappear in a dusty, dimly lit counting house from decades ago. A younger, more vibrant Scrooge stands before a young woman, Belle. Belle's voice is trembling. "Your heart has grown cold, Ebeneezer. There is a shadow in your eyes I did not see before. It frightens me." Young Ebenezer's voice is sharp with pride. It is the shadow of ambition, Belle, of building a world that cannot hurt me. Belle shakes her head, sorrow in her eyes. As she leaves, young Ebenezer's face hardens from sorrow into a mask of cold fury. His inner voice narrates, "Let her go. Love is a weakness. Affection is a vulnerability. The world is cruel, and to master it one must be crueler. If they will not bend to my will, they will break before my purpose." The ghost holds the old Scrooge in place, forcing him to watch the transformation. "This was the moment," the ghost whispers in his ear. "The moment you chose the knife over the heart, the birth of the Ripper." The image of young Ebenezer's face, twisted with nascent rage, lingers as the scene fades to black. The clock struck 2, a heavy, booming toll that seemed to shake the very foundations of the room. A deep, resonant voice filled not with laughter, but with profound sorrow echoed from the shadows. "You have had your past, Ripper," it accused. "Now, witness your present." A hulking figure emerged, a giant of a man whose presence filled the space not with joy, but with the crushing weight of tragedy. It was the ghost of Christmas Present. With a sweep of his hand, the walls of Scrooge's room dissolved, revealing the humble home of Bob Cratchit. The family was gathered, their mood somber, an empty seat starkly visible at their table. "Your clerk's wife weeps," the ghost rumbled, his voice thick with grief. "Not for their poverty, but for her sister, your latest cleansing. Your actions bleed into every home, turning celebration into mourning." The scene shifted to a large, opulent house, now dark and draped in dust sheets. "This was my home," the ghost declared, his voice breaking. "My wife, the light of it. You extinguished that light on a whim, calling it surgery." The vision focused on a child's empty bedroom, where a rocking horse sat motionless. A family portrait showed the ghost, his murdered wife and their smiling daughter. "In your butchery, you made me a widower. In my grief, I made my own child an orphan. This is the present you have created, Scrooge. A legacy of broken homes and broken lives." The ghost's immense form began to flicker, collapsing under the unbearable weight of his own sorrow. "My time grows short," he rasped, his voice fading. "Another will come. He will show you the shadows you have cast, and the darkness in which they end." Scrooge found himself alone in the dark, dusty nursery. The faint, echoing sound of a little girl crying faded into the tolling of the clock as it began its chime for 3. As the last chime of 3 faded into an unnerving silence, the air in the chamber grew icily cold. A figure materialized from the deepest shadows, a towering, silent spectre clad in a lightless shroud, its face obscured by a deep hood, the ghost of Christmas future. Trembling, Scrooge collapsed to his knees, his voice a choked whisper. "Spirit, I fear you more than any spectre I have seen." The ghost offered no reply, merely raising a single skeletal arm and pointing a silent command to follow. The world dissolved and reformed into a filthy London alley. Years hence, a far older, more decrepit Scrooge scrambled through the muck, his face a mask of terror. He was being hunted not by constables, but by a vengeful mob that had uncovered a secret far darker than miserliness. They cornered him against a grimy brick wall. The scene abruptly cut to black, but his final agonized scream echoed through the void. The vision shifted to the bustling London Stock Exchange. "So Old Scratch is dead at last," one businessman remarked with a smirk. "What has he done with his money?" asked his companion. "He hasn't left it to me, that's all I know," the first replied, and they shared a callous laugh. Nearby, a newsboy shouted, "Walking papers," with a shocking headline, "End of an era, notorious Ripper dead." And the faces of the passers-by showed profound relief, a stark contrast to their utter indifference about Scrooge's death. Finally, the ghost led Scrooge to a wretched, weed-choked churchyard, pointing toward a single, neglected grave. Scrooge hesitantly approached the headstone, wiping away the grime to reveal the name etched into the cold stone, Ebenezer Scrooge. "No, spirit, no!" he sobbed, clutching at the phantom's robe. "Hear me! I am not the man I was. Why show me this if I am past all hope?" Scrooge collapsed, pleading at the foot of his own grave. The ghost of Christmas future slowly lowered its hand, its bony finger moving from the tombstone to point directly at Scrooge's terrified face. Its profound silence was the only answer, the horrifying truth dawning on Scrooge's features just before the world plunged into absolute darkness. Sunlight streamed through the window, a golden promise of Christmas Day. Ebeneezer Scrooge awoke in his own bed, his hands flying to his face, his bedclothes, the familiar curtains. He was alive, whole. A laugh thick with unshed tears bubbled up from his chest. The spirits, they did it all in one night. I haven't missed it, he cried, his voice giddy with relief. I will live in the past, the present, and the future. He flung open his window, and the glorious sound of church bells and joyous greetings rushed in to meet him. But as his laughter echoed, the merry bells began to warp, the peal descending into a low, guttural growl. The golden sunlight bled into a sickening crimson before fading entirely. The air grew thick and hot, choking him with the stench of sulfur and ash. It was a nightmare given flesh, a massive demon that dwarfed the room, its burning eyes fixing on Scrooge. What are you?" he stammered, his voice cracking with a terror far deeper than any he had known before. The creature's voice was a chorus of 1,000 tortured screams. They gave you hope, mortal, a sweet lie. Did you truly believe a soul as black as yours could be cleansed? Some stains don't wash out. I am not a lesson, the demon boomed. I am a destination. The spirits were your punishment, not your salvation. They showed you the warmth you could never have. My turn. The creature lunged, its massive clawed hand seizing the screaming Scrooge. The floorboards splintered, cracking open to reveal a fiery chasm below. "But I can change!" Scrooge shrieked, his last desperate plea. The demon's laughter was the sound of grinding stone. "No, you can't." The demon dragged him down into the pit, and his screams were swallowed by the flames. The chasm sealed over instantly, leaving the room pristine and quiet. Outside, the morning sun streamed in cheerfully, and the Christmas bells rang out pure and innocent, as if nothing had ever happened at all.